There are a lot of great actors that have never won an Oscar award, like Samuel L. Jackson, Johnny Depp, Angela Bassett, Tom Cruise, Harrison Ford, and many more. But Clarence Williams III was a phenomenal actor who also has never won an Oscar award. And he really never got the credit he deserves as an actor. Now, like I said, he never won an Oscar, but he was nominated 4 times for the NAACP Image Award. But he's definitely an underrated actor. And some say he was the most feared actor in Hollywood because of his powerful performances. The man had an acting career that spanned over 5 decades in theater, television, and film. So let's get to his story, right? Now, Clarence Williams III was born on August 21st, 1939 in Harlem, New York. And, he did have an older sister. Now, his father, Clarence Clay Williams Jr., was a professional musician who played the saxophone. And his mother went missing after she gave birth to him. When Clarence was about 6 months old, his mother just vanished without a trace and was never seen again. Wow. So, he was raised by his grandparents. His grandfather was jazz and blues composer, pianist Clarence Williams. And his paternal grandmother was singer-actress Eva Taylor. His grandfather did a lot of music with blues icon Bessie Smith, Louis Armstrong, and many more during the Harlem Renaissance era. But Clarence said growing up in Harlem, he said he loved it as a kid. He loved watching movies. And he also said he used to watch legendary jazz blues singer Dinah Washington call for her. But here's the crazy part though. Where he lived right above a funeral home. And his grandmother was an organist and she used to play for funerals they would have there. Now, after graduating high school, he went into the military. He did about 2 years in the U.S. Army as a paratrooper. But once he got out, he got a job at an advertising agency, and he also worked in the dining hall for that same company serving food. Now, during that time, one day while visiting his sister at her YMCA job, she was a switchboard operator, but his sister was loaning him $20 because he wanted to take his girlfriend out on a date. So when he went there to get the $20 from his sister told him about a play that was going on downstairs. So he went and checked it out. Now, as soon as he walked through the door, the director of the play asked him if he was an actor. And he said no, but then she asked him, did he want to become an actor? And he said yes. He was just trying to be nice because he interrupted their whole play thing. He just said yes. And you know what? The rest is history. Just like that, he became an actor. Wow. He became an actor by accident, just walking into a play rehearsal and was asked, did he want to be in a play? And guess who else was in that play just starting their acting career? It was Cicely Tyson, Roscoe Lee Brown, and Isabel Sanford, who played Wheezy from the Jeffersons. That's crazy. Wow. Now, his first role in the movie was called Pork Chop Hill, which was a Korean war drama. But after that, he got serious and started to study theater and started landing a bunch of gigs and plays. He also played Blood in a movie titled The Cool World. Then he ended up marrying Gloria Foster, who at the time was an aspiring actress who would later on be in the Matrix franchise. She and Clarence were also in the Cool World movie alongside Antonio Fargas. But then he got his big break. His big break came when Bill Cosby and his wife Camille came to one of his plays. At that time, Bill Cosby was doing I Spy. And the play that Clarence was doing was called Slow Dance on the Killing Ground. in which he earned a Tony nomination for that play. But Bill Cosby thought he did a great job in that play, and he went back and told Aaron Spelling and Danny Thomas, who were the executive producers for the ABC detective drama TV series called The Mod Squad. Bill thought Clarence would be the right person for that show. Bill Cosby co-signed for him to be casted on that show, The Mod Squad. And the rest is history. He ended up playing Link Hayes alongside Quincy Jones' ex-wife Peggy Lipton, who played Julie Barnes, and Michael Cole played Pete Cochran for the 1968 show called The Mod Squad. The show was about 3 former juvenile delinquents recruited as undercover cops. Now, The Mod Squad was a big hit and had good ratings, earning 6 Emmy Award nominations, 4 Golden Globe Award nominations, and it aired for 5 seasons. But Clarence became very popular on that show due to his afro and dark shades. And after 5 seasons and appearing in more than 120 episodes, his contract was up, and you know what? He didn't want to renew his contract for that show. Now, ABC wanted to renew his contract, but Clarence said he was ready to move on. But that show made him one of the first black men to play a strong character and have such a significant role on television. After that, right, he was asked to be in the blaxploitation movie titled 3 the Hard Way, but he turned it down. He turned that movie down. He really didn't like the blaxploitation movie era because he felt the characters were one-dimensional and he didn't want to play stereotype of roles and stuff like that. But after that, Clarence, he just kind of disappeared from show business. He stated that he just wanted to go back, refresh himself, learn some new things, read, travel, and just try to sharpen his craft. Now, in 1979, he appeared in the Mod Squad reunion movie, and he appeared in a Broadway play called Night and Day. But right after that, he kind of just disappeared again. For years, he traveled the world, and then he was ready to come back to acting. He decided to return back to acting. And in 1983, he did an episode on the NBC police show called Hill Street Blues. Now, also, that same year in 1983, he was arrested after he hit a man with a sugar container during a fight at a Hollywood fast food restaurant. That man was treated by a paramedic for a lacerated scalp. Wow. Now, in 1984, he landed the role of Prince's father in the classic movie titled Purple Rain. I thought he did a great job portraying Prince's father. Now, Clarence did say in an interview on the Arsenio Hall show that at the time, he didn't even know who Prince was. Wow, that's crazy. Because Prince was big at that time. But because see, Clarence, he loved jazz music. He wasn't into all that other type of music. He loved jazz music. That's where he grew up, listening to jazz music. That's the era he came from. But when Prince saw him at the audition, Prince immediately wanted him to play his father. And Clarence stated that he and Prince didn't really talk or get that close on the set, but he did state that Prince reminded him of Jimi Hendrix. And some say he should have won an Oscar for that role. He did a great job playing Prince's father. That's a classic, Purple Rain. Now, in 1985, he did an episode on Miami Vice, and he did an episode on The Cosby Show, which was the episode called Cliff's Birthday. Him and Bill Cosby became real good friends ever since he put him on with that Mod Squad show. In 1986, he landed a role in a movie called 52 Pickup. In that movie, I think he was the one that he killed Vanity in that movie. Vanity, the actress, singer Vanity, he killed her in that movie. He smothered her with a pillow or something. In 1988, he played Kalinga in the classic movie titled I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, directed by Keenan Ivan Wayans. In that movie, he was the leader of a black revolutionary army, but dated a white woman. That's my movie right there. I'm gonna get you, sucker. That, see, with him playing that movie, it showed his range in comedy. He can do it all. Now, in 1990, he did 3 episodes on a TV show called Twin Peaks as FBI agent Roger Hardy, and he landed a role in a movie titled Maniac Cop Part 2. In 1991, he played Deputy Sheriff Virgil in the movie titled My Heroes Have Always Been Cowboys. In 1992, he played Detective Taft in one of my favorite movies titled Deep Cover, starring Lawrence Fishburne. That's my movie right there, Deep Cover. That same year, in 1992, he was featured in an episode on the HBO series called Tales from the Crypt. In 1994, he landed a role in the classic gangster movie titled Sugar Hill. Man, that's my movie. He played the father. He played the drug-addicted musician father of 2 drug-dealing brothers, which was played by Wesley Snipes and Michael Wright. That's another, Sugar Hill is another great gangster movie that don't get talked about enough when it comes to gangster movies, y'all. Sugar Hill, make sure y'all check that movie out if y'all haven't checked it out when y'all get a chance. Now, that same year, in 1994, he was in an HBO movie called Against the Wall with Samuel L. Jackson. Now, in that movie, he played the character named Shaka. He was like the leader of the gang in there, trying to seize control of Attica. Now, in 1995, he played Mr. Sims in the black classic horror film titled Tales from the Hood. And you know what? I didn't even know that Spike Lee was the executive producer of that movie. Tales from the Hood is really not a traditional scary horror movie. They had messages in that movie. It was a message in there about racism, child abuse, police abuse, and everything. According to Clarence, he said he saw his role in Tales from the Hood as an opportunity to send a powerful message to black youth about issues like black-on-black crime, racism, and gang violence. Now, here's the crazy part about making that movie Tales from the Hood, right? FBI agents were called to the movie set to investigate death threats made against Clarence Williams III. They say the death threats were related to his role as Mr. Sims, the mortician, the eerie mortician guy. Apparently, somebody wanted Clarence dead for playing that role for real. Wow. Somebody wanted to kill him for playing that role. Why? I have no idea. But, if I took a guess, I would say probably because the messages in the movie. I don't know why somebody would want to kill him for playing that role. I mean, at the end of the movie, he turned out to be the devil, but Tales from the Hood is another great movie, in my opinion. I love that movie, Tales from the Hood. Now, part 2 and part 3, I guess I'm gonna have to watch them again. But I love part 1, Tales from the Hood. Classic movie. Now, also that same year, in 1995, he was in a movie titled The Immortals with Chris Rock and legendary actor Tony Curtis. In 1996, he did an episode on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and he was also in a movie called Rebound. Who remembers that movie, Rebound, The Legend of Earl the Goat Manigault, which was based on a true story? Now, that movie had a lot of famous actors in it. So when y'all get a chance, make sure y'all check that movie out, Rebound, The Legend of Earl the Goat Manigault. In 1997, he played gangster Bub Hewlett in the classic gangster movie titled Hoodlum. Now, Hoodlum, let me tell you, I done seen that movie about 100 times and never get tired of it. I thought Clarence Williams III and Lawrence Fishburne should have won some type of award for the roles in that movie. That's a great movie, Hoodlum. Also, that same year, 1997, he played in the movie Sprung. I like Sprung too, which is another movie. That's another movie I love. And he also played in a movie called The Brave, which was written by actor Johnny Depp. Plus, that same year in 97, he played in the TNT TV movie titled George Wallace, which won a Golden Globe Award for Best Miniseries or Television Film. Now, in 1998, he had a role in a movie called The Legend of 1900. He played blues and jazz musician Jelly Roll Morton. He also played Samson Simpson in the classic movie titled Half Baked, starring Dave Chappelle, which is a classic movie that same year in 1998. Now, in 1999, he landed the role of Old Man Winston Hancock in one of my favorite movies of all time called Life, starring Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence, and a bunch of other great comedians and actors in that movie too. Now, that same year, in 1999, he played Colonel George Fowler in A General's Daughter starring John Travolta, which grossed over $150 million in the box office. Clarence stated that for that movie, that role was easy for him because, he was once in the military. In 2001, he played the character Benny in another classic movie I love called Blue Hill Avenue. In 2005, he had a role in the movie titled Constellation with Gabrielle Union, Billy D. Williams, Hill Harper, and Ray Don Chong. And he also did an episode on Everybody Hates Chris. And he was also in the Mystery Woman series. A lot of people loved him in the Mystery Woman series too. Now, in 2007, he played gangster Bumpy Johnson in the classic movie titled American Gangster starring Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe. In 2009, he played in a movie called A Day in the Life with Mekhi Phifer, Sticky Fingers was in there. Who else was in there? Faison Love and a bunch of other great actors. In 2015, he did an episode on a Fox TV show called Empire, directed by Lee Daniels. But on June 4th, 2021, Clarence Williams died from colon cancer. His manager put out a statement saying he died at his home in Los Angeles after a battle with colon cancer. Now, reports say that, he did have a daughter. Clarence Williams had a daughter named Jamie Phillips. But, Clarence Williams, man, was a great actor, y'all. He would truly be missed. I remember seeing an interview with DeAndre Barnes, who played in the Tales from the Hood movie with him. He was one of the drug dealers with Joe Torre and Caffeine. And he said when Clarence Williams would come on the set, he was already in character. He wasn't talking to nobody or nothing. He was focused on his character, Mr. Sims. That's why that Tales from the movie, that's probably why he was, I don't know, man, why they wanted him dead for doing that Tales from the Hood movie. That's crazy. Y'all do any research on that? Let me know why they wanted him dead for playing that role, Mr. Sims, in Tales from the Hood. I don't know. But he was 81 years old. 81 years old. Rest in peace, Clarence Williams III.